Yeah! Said it's Top Tuesday on the shot. Oh, yeah. It's Tank Top Tuesday. Welcome to the shotgun. It's Tank Top Tuesday on the shotgun. It's Tank Top Tuesday. Whoa, it's Tank Top Tuesday. Tuesday on the shotgun. We got Emrick and we got Moose.
What up, what up, what up? It is Tank Top Tuesday on the Shark Cove. As the intro music said, thank you so much for creating that. And what a lovely voice you have, Justin. Hopefully we have more musical stylings from you in the future. I'm excited. I loved it. I thought it was great. I've listened to it like 5 times. Moose, that's the second time you had to hear it. How'd you like it?
I loved it. Top notch.
Tank
Top
Top
tier.
Tuesday. Second ever Tank Top Tuesday. But you know what? For as long as it's in the summer, I think Tank Top Tuesday is going to be in play because, quite frankly, you need a tank top sometimes in the summer.
It's a great song. Thank you for that. So I hope we honor you with some at least half decent predictions and takes.
Well, Moose, we were talking before the show. We were listening to the music. We were talking before the show. What an absolute dog shit slate this is. Like, holy shit. You know, it's like you can't control the games. Like, I get it. It's All-Star Week or weekend, or I don't know what I said, but it's All-Star Week. So people don't have baseball to play. There's no basketball. Super degenerates are playing Madden Sims, but they don't have good prize pools. You know, what carried this company through the dark times when there were no sports. It wasn't just All-Star Weekend. It was just what it was League of Legends. LPL League of Legends. 4-game slate League of Legends. The least that they could do is increase the size of the 333 and maybe make like pricing not completely and utterly impossible today. Yesterday was a great slate. I was on TT. I loved it. I thought it was amazing. But you know that's not going to be the case today. So Moose, I hope that you're ready to guide the way with me because it's just nothing fits, man.
Yeah, nothing fits. Tonight's slate is kind of shitty, but it's cool because you know we get to wrap up a quick Tuesday and maybe go into some warmer times ahead. I know that we had Red Side weekend all weekend. Seems like Red Side got back in it. So I don't know if Gelati's keeping up with the percentages, but you know the blue side's still there. Updates are coming, but hopefully we see some much needed values going towards the average today.
Well, yeah. So there was a day that was almost like completely dominated by red side, but yesterday, and I think even the day before, blue side is back. It's still hitting at an over 70% rate. You know, some of that is the favorite team having blue side 2 of the times, and other times it was still, you know, the dog rising to the occasion on that blue side. One of the red side wins that we saw yesterday was LNG, notorious bad red side team, but team up, notorious just bad team overall. Continually trying to dive under tier 1 mid tower in the mid game. Really hard to understand where their heads were at there, but hey, you know what? I commend them. You know, it was what it was. Look, I do want to bring up a point, and I talked about this quite possibly while you're on vacation. I don't remember. I think it was. I watched World War Z for like the third or fourth time. Have you seen the movie Brad Pitt, Zombies?
Yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah,
talking about, right?
yeah, yeah.
So there's a part in there where Brad Pitt goes to Israel because they're like well prepared, and like the guys, he's like, how did you know? How did you know to prepare for this? And they had a philosophy. It's called the 10th man. You know, they had 10 people making decisions, and when the first 9 of them were saying, you know, one thing, it was the duty of the 10th person to go the other way, to be the contrarian, to assume that the other 9 were wrong. And that led him to building the walls and all the stuff. And, you know, at the end of the day, it didn't really work out for him, right? Because they started singing, zombies learned how to climb like 50-foot walls, and you know, the rest is history. But I've wanted to impress on people that sometimes you have to be your own 10th man when it's coming to these games, specifically today. I mean, quite frankly, we have heavy favorites everywhere. We're going to see a lot of top and sub captains. There are a couple favorite builds that you can build without that, but like trying to find a dog that's in a good spot here, trying to find a dog that's going to bark, trying to, you know, lead you to the promised land and not shit all over your shoes is going to be a difficult situation, but I think we're up for the task.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go look. Let's try to find some dog shit in the light.
All right, first game we've got Fredit Brion against DRX. DRX a -600 favorite. Look, the biggest problem with Fredit Brion for me, outside of the fact that they've been absolutely terrible, is we just don't necessarily know who's playing in the top lane. We're somewhat sure who's playing in the jungle, but not positive. And we don't know who's going to play in the ADC position. Now, Moose, I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, well, this is the first game, Chris. We're going to get these rosters. You could just wake up early and you'll be okay. But it doesn't mean that they're going to be the rosters all the way through. If they lose that first game, you're looking for a reverse sweep. You know, there's just a level of uncertainty here. But in a world of uncertainty, is Fredit Brion the best bet for an underdog upset?
And the LCK, yeah, but I don't think overall. I think they're a close second, but that's not saying much. You know, DRX have had a really rough time over the last 3 games. I think 3 or 4 games they've had just an absolute garbage level of performance going on here. Other than their win over Damwon, you know, they lost to KT, they lost to T1 twice, they lost to Gen, and they lost to Sandbox. So overall, they're like, what, 1-4 over the last five games, and yeah, they're hurt. DRX wants to go back to a win, and the way DRX win their games is through these, I don't know. So at the start of the season, I thought this was true. Maybe it's not now, but at the start, you know, they like to do this slow grind method, where they just kind of grind you out of the game, and they almost did that to KT until KT just said, you know, give me the rock, and kind of won that game. So, I mean, unfortunately, Brion have really not done anything other than 2-0 a Nongshim team that looked like they were absolutely never going to show up in the history of time again. So I imagine that they probably still have the same issues and aren't able to kind of deal with the practice and, you know, seriousness of DRX as a team. I think DRX just really need a pick me up type of win, and this is that win right here. They just take it, they calmly 2-0 them. I don't know if necessarily we're going to expect some sort of big scoring or anything like that, but I really don't see how you can calmly say like, hey, Brion's definitely going to take 2 games here, 1 at best, and even that.
Well, you know, to that point, you got the +1.5, +115. DRX has been struggling. I kind of like that bet right there. Maybe a little sprinkle on the money line for +425. No need to, you know, dedicate an entire unit to that bet, but maybe like a quarter of a unit to get a unit back. I mean, that could be a spot there, and you could put like the full one over on the +1.5. Look, we're not going to talk about red side, blue side. It really hasn't shown an advantage here in the LCK like it has in the LPL. But, you know, you're absolutely right. Looking at DRX over the last 1, 2, 3, 4, you know, even 6 or 7 series, they've really struggled after getting out of the gate fast. They beat Nongshim. They beat Bro. And they beat HLE and KDF. Like, I mean, that's one of the easiest schedules that you could have. Those are kind of the 4 worst teams. And we didn't know that necessarily at the time. Bro was a playoff team or borderline decent in spring, right? Nongshim kind of looked like they had it together, almost beat T1. We knew HLE sucked. But KDF hadn't, completely devolved to the garbage team that they are right now. I mean, they were always the garbage team. They looked pretty. There's a little lipstick on them. At this point, we know who they are. So, like, these 4 wins don't mean anything to me. Now, granted, Sandbox has looked good. T1's looked good. Damwon has, contextually looked good, not necessarily by Damwon standards. And Gen G and T1 again. So I don't hold these against them. I guess just from a betting standpoint, I think that they can get a win here, and it's something that I'm willing to kind of take a stab at there. And this might just be a spot that you fit some of these guys in a small stack. It is what it is. My biggest concern for DRX is we have some big favorites. Will they score well against this Bro team if they win? And, the game totals here are pretty pitiful. You got that 37 against T1, where T1 just drafted that kind of completely aggro comp with the Lee Sin support, the Yone, the Yas, the Diana. Like, you're just not going to see that. Like, DRX isn't going to do that. They want to play to scale. I think Bro's okay with that to some extent. I think that I want to bet the 1.5, but that's about the extent of it. Maybe like a first dragon. Do they have the first dragon? No. Not the first type of dragon. No, we're not doing that. Yeah, so I guess that's kind of where I'm at. Just plus 1.5 here. We'll get into the fantasy implications. We've got Spelkowski asking, if Bro win, can they get 25 kills? What are we talking in 2 games? Are we talking in 1 game?
Yeah, in 1 game. In 1 game for sure.
All right, so the next game that we go to, even bigger odds here. We've got Top Esports playing like one of the best teams in the league. Absolutely just, on a tear against Rare Atom, who've been atrocious, disappointing, have one of the worst ADCs in the league. Not the worst, but pretty close to it. In iBoy, just huge odds here. What are your thoughts on this one? I will tell you that I think Top is going to be starting on the blue side, unless they, for some reason, don't. They have choice.
Yeah, I feel like Top Esports kind of really they like to pay attention and more so really focus on matches that are much more difficult. I don't know. It seems like they were really in tune on the EDG games, but when they get a matchup like this, you're gonna get Top Esports in its full extent. Double blue side, weak team. Top Esports just getting over the EDG hump, and they pretty much either beat or come close to beating every single good team out there. So I just really don't imagine a world where this doesn't just 2-0 when we move on to the next one. And then you just have to ask yourself whether or not Top want to score 16 kills in a win or if they want to score 22 kills in a win. And then you just kind of go from there.
Yeah, I mean, so looking back on it, they're at 17.26. Some of those lower kill games that are dragging that down were earlier in the split. They have kind of picked it up and had a couple fiestas against teams like OMG, against teams like Weibo. And then when we come down to RA and just take a look at this is a team that's, giving up 17.68, have had a couple of those big 20 kill losses or allowed 20 kills and losses. And most recently, like 27 to JDG. This is a team that likes to fight. When you look at their, kills and losses, they're kind of up there. This is a game, this is a series where I kind of like the overs, and I am leaning towards Top being one of the more likely to be optimal teams out of these 4. that we have as favorites. I certainly prefer top over DRX. I don't think that there's any surprise in that. Even pricing considered, it does level the playing field a bit. But yeah, man, it's just hard not to like them. I don't think Ari's been playing very good. I think the only thing that you can do maybe is bet RA map like on map 2 and the plus 1.5 and try and get a little bit of blue side magic with some coin in your pocket from that. I don't know how you feel about that, Moose.
No, I can't do it. I can't do it.
You can't do it.
RA just sucks so bad, man. It's like everything they do is just frustrating. I feel like
yeah, they took it, but they
top
took a
of the
game.
game.
Yeah, but they took a game off of JDG. They took a game off of BLG. They took a game off of Weibo. They've taken games off of these teams, and recently too, all from blue side.
Blue side dominance, except for the red side that they beat BLG on, right?
No, I think it was blue side.
No, it was red. It was red side. It was red side.
Was it now?
I distinctly remember that.
Oh, yeah. You're right. They should have swept that series, but they didn't. Disaster. All right. So, yeah, that's kind of the gist there. Now, when we go over to the LCK, the next team that we have is a team that is like near and dear to fantasy players' hearts. It's Damwon. I, for the life of me, don't know why people continue to chase Damwon. I'm one of them. I don't know why I continue to do it. But they were part of the optimal build the other day on a double LCK type slate on one that was not altogether that much different than what we have tonight. Damwon's minus 1,100 favorites. We've got Nongshim Red Force who after kind of just looking sloppy in the beginning of this split have looked atrocious recently. As you mentioned earlier, they got swept by Bro. I think it was like the only maps that Bro have won or like 2 out of the 3. They're just not looking good. They don't look on the same page. BDD looks completely washed. The biggest problem that you have, too, if you wanted to play Red Force, is you really don't know who's playing for Nongshim. They've been swapping out players, and rightfully so, just trying to find something that works. I don't really have a ton of interest in betting anything on this, just on the basis that, like, when we look at these two teams, Nongshim at one point was a team that I kind of wanted to attack from a fantasy standpoint, and that has been the case over the last couple series. As you can see, 37, 28, 26, 26. These are high totals for the LCK. They're at a 24 game total where others are 19, 22 over here, 18 for Bro. But you go down to Damwon and they're at 20. And outside of that, like, bonker series that they had against, somewhat against Nongshim, but mostly against HLE, they've been pretty conservative. Do you have a lean on the total here? Do you have a lean on a play? Tell me where to go and what to say.
I really like Damwon tonight. Maybe that's like a weird thing because they have like the lowest kills per win on the slate in wins, but it just feels like Nongshim to me feel like a team that are willing to scrap a little bit more than Fred and Brion in this case. And given how dry the slate is, it does feel like a pretty decent shot for Damwon to kind of get 30 if Nongshim want to. I don't really know exactly. It feels like it'll be like one short game and then one long game. That would be kind of like my best take on the situation. Is it just seems like the totals are either completely garbage or Damwon just like crushes them in a game, and I just don't know what Damwon is going to show up. If they're going to drop 22 in a game, or if they're going to drop 11. Given it's because teams are just leaving their bases open, and Damwon just walks in and ends the game half the time, which is really annoying. They should have a higher kill total in like half the games, but teams are just like unprepared for Damwon to just keep pushing, and they just end games sub 30. So I think in this case, it's like, Nongshim are obviously not a team that is ready to face Damwon, and this is definitely not a game where anybody can see them winning. But they still
Mhm.
have good players. They can still challenge lanes. Um, I would definitely lean towards Damwon. Feels like Damwon would have the higher. To me, it feels like Damwon compared to like DRX have a higher ceiling, especially with like Duckdom just like eating kills. But
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's the one spot that you can kind of look to. He's been consistently decent, I would say. That he's had a couple ceiling breakouts. He's been the guy that you can count on. We've had a couple good Canyon games. We've had a couple good Showmaker games. Um, but Deck has been able to put up at least feasible points most of these series. It's really just going to be like whether or not Damwon wants to engage them and fight and play. And I think to that extent, they might make a kind of interesting play in DFS. But, again, let's look at these game totals and what we've seen from Nongshim. I think the best indications that you have are, when they're playing better teams. Gen G 20 and 26. That total is at 22. When they played Sandbox 23 and 26. When they played KT, you have a 37 and a 28. Damwon, 25. I don't feel comfortable betting an over under. I think you're better off trying to just leverage what you can get in DFS there. My lean is, kind of towards the over. But it just doesn't feel good when you have a team like Damwon that's very comfortable winning 11-4, 11-1, 13-1, and just limiting the amount of times that they're going to die and put themselves in that position, especially if you're betting overs. I guess, to that extent, you can bet the under, but, it's probably not a spot where I'm going to force any type of bets here. Yeah, well, look, that's the case in any situation, Spell. Everything's a luck box, There's always snowball situations. It's just how consistent that happens. And you've seen it a couple times from Damwon, the 16, the 17, the 19, the 23. You see this up and down. The biggest problem that you have with them is even if you get that in game one, you're just as likely or more likely to get an 11 or a 12 or a 13 in the second game. And even in a sweep, then you end up with like the team slot outscoring 3 of the position players. And that's why people don't want to play Damwon. That might be why you want to do that. Chalk dog tonight. Who is it? Who is the chalk dog? I don't know. I think Moose had a take on that. So we're going to take a look. He hasn't really kind of mentioned it. So I'm guessing it's here in BLG versus RNG, and this is a situation where we've got BLG on blue side. Is BLG your favorite dog of the night?
yeah, definitely BLG. But that's not saying much because BLG are a mess. This Cam guy is actually pretty good. He does play well. This Fofo icon shit is really fucking everything up because they just completely, arbitrarily choose what mid laner is gonna get to play for no reason. Um, Bin is kind of useless, but this is what the Bin Brief revenge game, the double revenge game.
Yeah.
The double revenge game narrative where they're both gonna score 60 whether it's a win or lose. I love top laners tonight. You could play all 4 winning top laners and they'll all give you 60. Um, it
So
doesn't
just
really
play 4
feel.
top laners. That's all you got to do.
No, I'm saying you play any 4 of them and they'll all give you
Oh.
60 points. But and with RNG, they're just so unclean. Like they're just so they invite the competition. Like if you look at RNG's board, it feels almost like they want to go to 3 games. It feels like they want the challenge of playing 3 games. LNG, it's like, yeah, let's go to 3 games. WE, yeah, let's go to 3 games. And obviously, we can agree that BLG are a better team than WE, and even in their current fucked up state. So I think that probably there's just going to be either the typical blue side trading of back and forth with I think BLG getting blue side tonight, double blue side, or we just see RNG doing their thing. Like I said, I'm just gonna wake up again. RNG is gonna 2-1, and I don't know if their scoring is gonna be good. That's just kind of what I'm expecting. And the thing about RNG is also like overall their performances. they've had some absolutely monster performances, and they've also had some, some 16 and 20 kill game totals. So there's really no way to read RNG. It's kind of like they just pick a skill level for every single map, and then they just say, okay, this is the skill level we're going to play this map at.
Yeah, I think the big thing, and you kind of alluded to it, is when we look at this RNG kind of as a whole, obviously they've just made a habit out of dropping a game. And it's weird. At first, it felt like they were just like dropping the first game almost every single time. But you can see what ended up happening was they're dropping their red side game quite a bit. And the thing is, when they're dropping it, they are losing in spectacular fashion. You talked about having some ups and downs in the kill section when they win, and certainly they had a couple spikes. But when we take a look at where those spikes came from, they came from OMG, they came from up, and those are places where you typically do see higher kill totals when you beat them. And then the one just absolute monster game against Victory 5. Aside from that, when they played Top Esports, when they played WE, when they played LNG, even when they played FPX earlier, like this team wins in dominant fashion and not in fiesta fashion when they do win. They just completely snowball the game and take advantage of that other team. So it does, to me, make them a little bit harder to play. And I think people at the beginning, when they were building these RNG lineups, were building a lot of Xiaohu lineups, and he was the primary carry in spring. He was the carry in MSI. He's who you wanted. But we saw in summer, Gala really kind of step more into that role and be the higher scoring fantasy asset. And that has continued, and people know that. Like you see it in the ownership. People have figured that out. So you can kind of swerve the other way if you want to play RNG. I think what I'm getting at, though, is I'm not at all in love with what I'm looking at right here. And then if you go down to BLG, the other part of it is that this team has a pretty relatively low DPL in comparison to a lot of teams in the league. Yeah, some of these aren't completely updated. I know that, but the teams playing tonight are updated. But so 16 deaths per loss. And on top of that, if you think that they are the dog, only 17 kills per win. So we have this kind of weird situation tonight where we have a couple of these matchups that we have a low kill or low death team playing their opposite. And so it's just like, who's going to dictate the pace if this ends up going this way? Additionally, we have this just absolute monstrosity of pricing when it comes to the favorites, simply, well, due in large part to the Vegas odds being just so skewed in every single one of these favorites. So BLG plus 325, I think that's worth a sprinkle too. Probably going to bet the plus 1.5. I think that's just kind of a bet that you want to take, almost as a system bet. Take the plus 1.5 every single time on the dogs. It would have worked out really well for you yesterday on TT. So I don't know. Let's take a look. Let's try to build some lineups. It's not so easy, right? It's not so easy.
Yeah.
So favorites. Who's your favorite team? Favorite team for the day?
Like my favorite, or like the
where are we starting with Cash?
With Cash? You're gonna hate me.
Okay.
It's gonna be probably Damwon, and it's gonna be either Damwon DRX or Damwon RNG.
Okay. So let's try this out. So you got a top captain here. Man, that doesn't feel good.
No, it doesn't.
Here. Let's change this. Get rid of sub captain. Let's keep the top captain.
Is going to need some DRX team massaging.
Is that what you're doing?
Yeah.
It still only gets you what? Jungle captain? Not crazy about it. What was your other one? Just Damwon DRX? Like, I mean, what kind of... So this is 558. You do get a mid captain. I do kind of like this. This isn't bad. We're at 558, whereas if we put a comparison on these two teams with the Naguri captain, we're at 571.
RNG, baby.
All right, let's take a look at top. 562, not feeling good there. You go top with RNG, that double LPL favorite. You're going to see this a lot in GPPs. I know it. Some type of Captain Ming or Captain Mark situation. Shout out to Will, loving the Captain Mark, maybe with a one-off. What if you throw in DRX on this? Well, the great thing, Jordan, is you don't actually have to check the 10K to first. It's 20K to first. So it's a little bit better if you split it with 240 people. Not totally better, but like double. Double is good. Yeah, this is just rough. Let's take a look at something here. Let's take a look at something, Moose. Let's look at what we got going on here. Players. Tell you what, the LFL slate for tomorrow is way more exciting. Good bets there. Man. So first, in wins, Chris with that kill. Yeah, let's see. Rise only at 57%, kill share at 16. So, do you want him or do we go with Ben here if we're talking about this? That's problematic, I think. I think you end up with Fofo if you're playing them. If you're playing RNG, because we're talking favorites, we're talking cash, kill share. What I was saying, Gala's way up there. Yahoo's just not involved in the last hitting. We've got Gala, we've got Way. Interesting. Through top. No surprise there. We've got Knight, Jackie Love leading the way. The one that I've been most interested in is just how this team seems allergic to fantasy points, man.
Damn one? What are they? Are they allergic to fantasy points?
They're almost all sub 70 kill participation, except for Decadem. He's obviously going to have good fantasy scores here at 37.75. Showmaker at 66 and 18. Gurry at 62.20, not terrible for a top, but Canyon 71.17. Those are both low numbers. And this team's, like I said, averaging 15 kills in a win. That's not a place that you necessarily want to be. I know that price dictates it today, but it's hard for me to kind of latch onto that. I feel like we do this every single time. Every time Damn One is on a slate, it's like, man, and I don't know, maybe we're remembering 2020, maybe we're remembering spring 2021, but really, for the entirety of the last year and a half, Damn One have not been that team. They've had a couple games where they popped off, but when you take a look at the amount of wins that they've had, and then tie that to how many times they've been optimal or scored a lot of points, it's very minimal. There are a lot of other teams that have had great scores and wins, but we don't gravitate to them as often, obviously because they don't win as often. But I don't know, man. Like I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like the way it feels. It makes me not happy.
Well, there's nothing else we can do, so we pretty much like one of these LCK teams, man. They're gonna be the banger for sure. I think that we see T1 doing it all the time. I know they're kind of a different animal, but when you look at Damwon's scores overall, especially against bad teams, they're not that terrible. Like Ductum does get you the 90, close to 100. Showmaker gives you upper 80s. Kellen gives you 70s. Top and jungle, that's a whole different thing. Canyon is just kind of in his own zone, whether or not he chooses to score or not. But I feel like you're kind of like tonight is just kind of picking your poison between the two LCK teams and really figuring out whether or not RNG do anything or if top esports are the ones that do something.
What spot feels like the biggest letdown spot for you? We're obviously talking 4 big favorites here.
Yeah, 4 big favorites. I feel like the biggest letdown spot given expectations, it's probably RNG overall. Just they're easy to fit. They're an easy cash play, and they just I just wouldn't be surprised if I just get 60 or 70 out of them tonight, and that's it. I kind of expect Damwon and DRX to do what they do. I'm not really like, I don't have high expectations for their letdowns. Uh, Everybody thinks that top is going to score the most tonight, just out of their, just from their like brains. They're just automatically drawn towards top esports putting up the most points. But that could also be something that steering away from or figuring out how to force stack kind of wins you a tournament.
Moose, let me tell you something. If there is a team that has had top esports as number, it is RA.
Yeah, Vici 2-0 them last year.
And I think they won the split before that too. I think they won in spring. I think they won last summer, and I think they even won in the spring before. Let me take a look here. So I'm confident that they won in spring. Let's take a look. Spring result diagram. Where RA versus top. Yeah, I think they did.
They 2-0'd them. Vici 2-0'd them.
And then let's go to 2021.
It was an upset win, but it was a 2-0. It was like top had like 22 kills, and then Vici like somehow won the Baron fight and then just took over.
And then if we go to, they beat them they beat them 2-1 in week 3 of summer last year. And they beat them in spring too. Like, is this going to be on their mind? Do they just have their number? No, they got 2-0. They got 2-0 by them. Okay, that's all right. So
got the number.
Yeah, I mean, it could be, man. I don't know. Like, I feel like Nongshim would be the biggest surprise to me if they win. So, to that extent, I think that would be the biggest letdown. But RA would be the other side of it. Again, we've talked about it. We've beat it to death. And we're going to continue to beat it to death as long as it's like a 70-30 split. LPL blue side teams are just absolutely dominating for one reason or another. Bad teams, good teams, mediocre teams against bad teams, mediocre team against good teams, bad teams versus good teams. It doesn't matter. It knows no bounds. It is one of the weirder things that has obviously popped up over the summer. It's enough that we have to recognize it. The problem for RA is they're not going to have that advantage. BLG will. I think RA certainly can beat top esports, and I think it would be surprising. I would be less surprised if BLG or Brion won. Again, I'm willing to throw some money on both of those. I'm only willing to throw the +1.5 on RA, and I'm absolutely completely avoiding, I think, the Nongshim Damwon series. I'd just rather not bet on something like that, and then I don't have to watch it as closely. I'd rather watch this BLG RNG series, which almost feels destined to go to 3 games. If you're not betting the +1.5 on BLG, what the hell are you doing? If you're not betting it, just blindly in these LPL games, specifically when the dog is starting on blue side, I really don't know what you're doing. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter. They start on blue side, they start on red side. They're going to get one blue game either way, right?
Yeah. Unless RNG wins the red side.
Yeah, unless they decide that they want. Well, that's okay. They'll still get blue side the next game.
Yeah, but
or they'll have blue side. I'm sorry, they'll start blue side. So if they lose their blue side game, they lose their blue side game. It is what it is.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I don't know if you've really helped me in my quest for a lineup. I do detest these type of slates where you're left to making these weird top heavy captain, support captain lineups, or you're kind of taking a big leap of faith in one of the dogs. And I think the team, as we're building this, as we're talking about this, I think the people are going to build with BLG. That feels like the dog that people are going to go to.
Yeah, definitely.
People don't want bro. It's not a bro day. People don't
No,
like the
they don't want.
LCK.
They don't want Bro or an S, man.
And I get it. I don't want NS either. I think a lot of people will go BLG. Man, I don't know. I might be playing some RA tonight. I might even play some RA Damn One because that's what I like to do. What can you do with that? Tell me what it's going to be. It's going to be an iBoy Captain. Oh, look at that. Look at that, Moose.
Yeah, you got enough salary there to buy yourself your own fence.
Yes, sir. All right, let's run through these questions, comments, concerns.
Yeah, this week Blue is 500, bro.
Okay, that's fine. Doesn't change anything. What were they yesterday? Just pray the blue side gods and hope for the best. Absolutely. Sing the blues. Random BLG one-off. Yeah, I feel pretty confident there's going to be a one-off winner tomorrow. Unfortunately, the 20Ks are gone. It's going to be 10Ks, not tomorrow, but the day after. And for some reason, DK has just decided not to make the 333 a 3-entry max, despite the fact that almost everybody that plays in it puts 2 entries in. They would surely put a 3rd entry in if they had the ability to do it. That's the part that never makes any sense to me, Moose. But, hey, look, I wish this was a better slate. I wish we had more to talk about. I'm kind of depressed that we had such a garbage slate. I wish we could have had that TT OMG game on this slate. Would have been fantastic. TT would have been a chalk dog. They would have probably had more ownership than some of the favorites, and that wouldn't have been good. But, you know, we're going to leave you with the musical stylings of Tank Top Tuesday. Thank you, guys.
Yeah! Said it's Tank Top Tuesday on the shot go.